Just make sure. Veal Farm. Somebody had Veal Farm.
That's me.
Oh. All right, the floor is yours.
Lovely.
Let me see if this is gonna work.
Shut up.
Yes.
We're good to go. Fantastic. Thank you, sir. Awesome. Well, it is a pleasure to be with you all today. By way of introduction, my name is Brittany Dunn. I'm one of the co-founders of the Safe House Project. To give you a little bit of background, because I just appreciate all the stories that I've already gotten to hear from people in this room about how you got here today. My life did not start in the nonprofit sector. It really began in international business development and mergers and acquisitions for over 10 years. But through that process, through being a military spouse and living all over the country, I saw how the issue of human trafficking had woven itself into the very fabric of our communities. But God also has a sense of humor in my life specifically about when he asks me to do things. And so the moment that my co-founder and I decided to launch this, I had a 3-week-old, a 2-year-old. She had 3 kids under the age of 5. Her husband deployed and my husband deployed with 3 days notice. And that's when we decided that launching a national nonprofit would be a really great idea. Yeah, so I tell people she coerced me and it was sleep deprivation, but we are here 8 years later and it's the greatest joy of our lives. So when we launched, I don't come from a background in healthcare or law enforcement or social work. And so we really had to understand this really complex issue and how it had become part of our community. But today we run 3 key pillars. We work to increase victim identification. We have trained over 500,000 people to identify and report suspected trafficking across the nation. But the other side of that is that as individuals exited a trafficking situation, we knew that hope without resources is cruel. So we really have invested into capacity building of different programs and local nonprofits where people can go and heal from this trauma. And then our core pillar is our survivor support team. And we get to help individuals exit a trafficking situation every single day and navigate them into those partner resources. So last year we got to serve 2,644 victims of human trafficking. But already this year we've served over 1,000 victims nationally. Yeah. So. Yes, so we founded out of Hampton Roads, and I had the privilege of serving on the Governor's Commission on Human Trafficking Prevention and Support. We work a lot with our legislators on critical legislation to help expand things like vacatur, signage, things like that. But last year we served 120 victims from the Commonwealth. Yeah. Okay, so to baseline people on what human trafficking is, because I know some people probably have heard about it now, it's always helpful though to kind of make sure everybody understands what we're talking about. So at its basis, human trafficking in the United States is anytime somebody is sold for commercial sex or used for forced labor through the means of force, fraud, or coercion. But when it comes to kids, anybody under the age of 18 can't consent to commercial sex. And so that is considered sex trafficking automatically whenever a child is engaged in commercial sex. Well, why are we talking about this? Unfortunately, human trafficking is now the 2nd largest criminal enterprise in the world. It's over $150 billion criminal enterprise. And it is fast approaching to overtake drugs in most communities. I think the other thing, though, that as a mom and as a military spouse, that I was really alarmed to learn when we stepped into this work is that over 40% of kids will first be trafficked by a family member or somebody that they deeply trust in their family network. So that means it's happening right where my kids are playing, where your kids are playing, grandchildren. These kids are in our schools. They're still going to church. They're still in our grocery stores. This really isn't the way that Hollywood has sensationalized the issue over time. The other challenge is that the average age is 12 years old. And so I think sometimes we want to keep our kids young and we, of course, want to protect them from all the harms of the world. But it really opened my eyes to how much the prevention work has to start younger and younger in helping kids understand safe boundaries, how to protect themselves, and also how to alert their safe people when something might be happening to them. So we estimate that currently around 14,000 people will be trafficked in the Commonwealth this year, and that victim identification rate is only at 1%. Anecdotally, working alongside our law enforcement partners, I think this number is low. When we look at even just the presence of child sexual abuse material creation on computers just in Chesapeake, we found 2,500 images just since the first of the year. And so this really is a low risk, high reward crime for the predators at this juncture. And so a lot of the work that we're doing is helping improve public awareness of the issue, but also that advocacy, because we have to make this a crime that people don't see worthy of perpetrating. So one of the challenges that communities and the anti-trafficking field have faced over the past 5 years is that in the early 2000s, Congress mandated that the National Human Trafficking Hotline be established through the Trafficking Victims Protection Act. Unfortunately, that system has just atrophied with time. It's a 20th century solution, and we're living in a 21st century age of digitally native generations of people wanting to be able to report in real time. They don't want to spend 45 minutes on a hotline in order to report something, but they also need to know that what they are submitting is accurate. And so this past year, we launched a new platform called Simply Report, which is on the cards in front of you. This is a community-based app and mobile. It's also available via the web, where anybody can come on and report suspected signs of human trafficking. It is validating that against a behavioral matrix to predict the likelihood. And then as soon as the tip is submitted, it routes and pushes that information to law enforcement, closing the gap for our law enforcement partners between community having information but not feeling equipped to report, and now we can get that information into the right hands. It's also been instrumental in helping us be able to connect to more victims of human trafficking as they feel more comfortable reporting through. So we launched this last year in May. In the first 3 months, we saw over 8,000 signals to the system, 1,200 cases identified, and 684 victims recovered. And so it just goes to show you that people know this is happening, but they just don't always feel confident to report it. But when we put something in the hands of the community, as you all know as Rotarians, it's absolutely vital to mobilizing a grassroots movement that can really take out some of our most complex issues in the world. So that's a little bit about background around our identification, but of course, at the heart of everything we do, this is an issue that hits home with people. This young woman is one of the very first survivors who entered my world. Her name is Hope. And when she came to us, she had been trafficked from the age of 6 to 23. Her traffickers were her parents. Her dad was a firefighter and her mom was on the school board. This shattered my narrative of who I thought could be a victim of human trafficking. And I think that since then, that has encouraged us as our team continues to train and equip people to really help them understand that this is an issue that's affecting every age, race, socioeconomic class. because unfortunately, due to things like the smartphone, all kids are accessible and suggestible to human traffickers. There's over 500,000 predators online each day targeting our kids. And as a result, these situations are becoming more commonplace. But the beautiful part about her story is that it shows that when community comes around somebody, when we invest in people, when we step in and offer the support, the resources, the therapy, the medical, the education, lives are transformed. So when she came to us, I mean, we were dealing with severe mental health. She could hardly even, she didn't even know how to cook. She had never been taught how to brush her teeth. Today, she is in her own apartment. She's graduated college. She has testified before the attorney generals using her lived experience to help inform some of the most cutting edge training and curriculum design to help us understand this issue. And so I think it just goes to show that when people are given the right tools and the right support and that social or that community-based support, they really are able to restore and rebuild their lives and become really meaningful parts of our community. Um, let's see. Yeah. Okay, so is the audio, do you think audio will work in here if there's a video? If not, I'll just skip it because I know we want time for questions.
Well,
Okay, so I will share a little bit about Bree as well because I love her story. So when Bree came to us, she had been trafficked by her sister's boyfriend, and this one they were both kids in foster care. She had eloped, and she ended up hurt her sister in the hands of a trafficker. They spent 2 years being trafficked by this man, and with 10 seconds of insane courage, she reached out to our team. And we were able to extract not just her, but also her sister and put them back on a path to recovery. 18 months later, they were able to testify against their traffickers. And so I think that's also the piece of this that's always important to remember is that there's the restoration and healing side, but this is a criminal enterprise that we're going up against every day as well. And so we have to hold the tension of service provision and protecting individuals while also understanding that our law enforcement partners desperately need support to build these really critical cases. Of course, we know that we don't get to do this work alone. This is a very complex issue, and it is one that literally intersects all parts of community. It thrives on legal industry. It's happening in our hotels. It's happening in our truck stops. It's happening in our, our massage businesses. Like it truly has woven itself around infrastructure. And so to that end, it isn't an issue that will ever be solved by one organization, one policymaker. It really requires collaboration and partnership to scale in impact. And so we are grateful for everybody who comes alongside in donating time, talent, and treasure in order to really move the needle and see that 1% identification rate increase and see these individuals get the support they need. So I think this has been probably one of the most powerful ideas that we've kept at the forefront as we've built is that what we tolerate, we give permission to exist. And so while this is a hard issue and probably one of the hardest ones that we as a community have to face every single day, our team at Safe House Project truly believes that we cannot tolerate trafficking in our communities. We cannot tolerate broken systems that are failing the people that they were designed to serve. But when we all unite together and we use our own voice and our influence in our different spheres, we truly can move the needle. I believe wholeheartedly that we can build infrastructure in this nation to eradicate child sex trafficking because it's the power of the people saying that we are not going to allow for this to come against our kids. We are going to put in place the proper structure and safety nets that protect them. And when we do that and we work collectively, we really can push back the darkness. So thank you for having me. I'm happy to take questions, but yes. Yes.
Statement actually first, and that is, I was astounded to find out that our local Target is a favorite place to do trafficking work. And I'm wondering, with respect to those types of stores, is there any partnerships being developed so that their employees are trained to spot this?
It's a really great question. I think one thing to note is that although those are primary venues where grooming can happen and people might be targeting for recruitment, more often than not, this is somebody in a person's world that they already know and have a relationship with. The number one trafficker of youth right now is the mother. And so although that does happen, we only find about 4% of it being abduction. And I think that's really been surprising for a lot of us because it kind of forces us to throw out this idea of the white van and evaluate who are our kids just coming in contact with on a regular basis that are building a trust relationship and then using that as a form of coercion to get them into these situations. So yes, a lot of the businesses are truly doing work to try to increase signage and obviously practice general safety practices. But I think if we just focus there and don't look at the ways that it's coming in through a lot of different places, we risk missing how this is being played out. And it really is these deep relationships that the predators are forming with a bond that they're creating. But it's a great question because yes, they are recruiting out of places.
So the name of the organization is Safe House Project.
Yes,
Do
ma'am.
you have safe houses?
So what
Like,
we do is when the information comes into us, like when we get a recovery, we are matching the individualized needs of the victim to the individualized competencies of different programs. So we don't operate the actual houses, but we're using a network of over 3,000 service providers around the nation. The reason for this is that if I have a 13-year-old who comes in and is pregnant, her needs are going to look extremely different than a 17-year-old male who's coming out of exploitation. So we seek, and so our agency is looking at comprehensively anywhere they can go in the country, and we are covering all cost transportation, case management, and bridging that entire thing to get them into the right program. And we find that when we do that, we move above the national average of 34% stay rate in care to closer to 68% stay rate because you're giving somebody hope and the idea that they have the personal agency to choose where they want to be for that healing journey.
so have you met Amelia Stanzel?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I do know Amelia well. I was with her Monday. We trained Warrenton, or we were training out in Warrenton, all of law enforcement and different things around.
So as far as I understand, the group is focusing on the in-house, the close family members, trafficking. However, my other concern is we have a huge commuter lot and now they're building, I don't know, housing or hotels. And as far as I learn, commuter lots are a huge place for human trafficking. Is your organization doing something like maybe contacting the high schools, middle schools to make awareness, at least
Yeah.
one simple sign or they should be aware of? Or are there any flyers for the commuters? Hey, just keep your eyes open or something like that?
Great question. So we do not just work with victims of familial trafficking. We work with victims of all human trafficking, adults, minors, labor, sex. But what we find with community members, it's easier for you all to help us identify those who are being trafficked by a trust relationship opposed to something like organized crime, which not asking you to go into the gangs today, so we'll keep that on the side. But really, there are all of these venues. So we just passed a law with in the Commonwealth this last General Assembly with Senator Roem around improving signage that for how to report for Department of Transportation. So yes, and then we also have our Just Ask prevention curriculum that helps train middle school and high school students on not so much what trafficking is, but how to protect themselves and some of the signs and indicators. But we want to also be instilling that level of prevention and getting ahead of the problem. Yeah.
So Cindy mentioned Amelia. A lot of you know that Amelia has this action group, the Rotary Action Group Against Slavery, RAGUS, and I'm part of that. And so that's how I heard about Brittany. They had a meeting in Manassas at Georgetown South. wasn't it? It was somewhere over there. Community Center. And I went to that. And that's where I heard her speak. And me, immediately there, TJ Rodriguez, all of us know TJ, was there. And one of the things that I learned there that you didn't mention yet
Okay.
was that when you go on her site, they have posters that you can order online.
Mhm.
And you can put them up in 7-Elevens, Swirlies, whatever,
Yeah.
but they mentioned that one place that they put them is inside the stall of a women's restroom, not just in the open space, because sometimes the trafficker will follow them into the bathroom, but they won't follow them into the stall. And so there's a poster in there that says, that gives them the person being trafficked some information. So for those of you who are interested, you can go on their site and learn about those posters. And just after I learned about that, as soon as you learn about something, you see it, right? I was in a major airport and there was a poster. And I was like, I took a picture, sent it to Amelia, and I went, there you go.
Yeah. And that's true. Signage is so critical in just getting the word out. So like we had a case a few weeks ago where we had an individual who had the app on their phone. They got on a flight and it was a coast to coast. There was a man on the flight with a girl that was probably 18. He was in his 50s, different racial demographics. But he was not allowing her to go to the bathroom by herself. He was standing outside of it, that he wouldn't let her interact with the flight attendant. She wasn't allowed to talk to anybody. She didn't have any personal belongings that she was traveling with. And because that contactor was able to make a report, because it wasn't a phone line while in flight, we were able to have law enforcement meet the flight on the tarmac and intercept that situation. So that's the power of community-based reporting and everybody having it on their phone. Mm-hmm.
Jackie had mentioned, and several people mentioned Amelia and the action committee. Since I've been in Rotary the last few years, I've seen several groups, which I think is wonderful, focusing on this. Do these groups coordinate in any way? And
Yeah.
can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so if you can think of it, we are the top of the funnel, kind of getting all of the tips and helping navigate service provision for individuals coming in, and then working alongside all of these different organizations to help with the service provision. We also have our multidisciplinary task forces where we're working with law enforcement and kind of more on that prosecution level. And then we have our national partners who have different lanes, whether that's the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children that's focused, on the cyber tip line. We have the National Center on Sexual Exploitation, really looking at how to strengthen our laws around online safety. So yes, there's a lot of coordination, but there are 25 unique business models of human trafficking in the United States. And this is an issue that's funded at about $120 million from the federal government. Domestically, we estimate this to be a $5.9 billion industry. So we're eating an elephant with a spoon right now. That's really what I'm going to tell you. So there's a lot of work to be done. We're about 1% into the issue.
I think, to me, speakers like Brittany understanding, getting this information to us is what Rotary is all about. One of the organizations that can help get information out about what's going on in our world. Thank you so much.
I forgot I have two more slides. Okay,
please, go
so
ahead.
sorry. If you feel like you want to learn more about what it looks like and how it's impacting, our On Watch training is a free 1-hour training. A lot of businesses do it with they're 5 to 7 minute modules, and they break it down. Also great for dealing with kids, not dealing with kids, teaching your kids about it, teaching grandchildren about it, because it talks about online safety, and not all of them are the worst parts of trafficking. It can be things like sextortion and gateway crimes into it. That's the On Watch app, which you have in front of you. I also have our book that I wrote with Bill Wolf, who's here local, on eradicating human trafficking, that is over here. And then I do have our contact information, but that you should have in front of you as well. Yeah, sorry. Yes.
And do you know
you spend in overhead for running the organization?
Right now, we are sitting at 5.5% G&A. Mhm.
I'm gonna ask at our next board meeting for us to consider donating. And I'm gonna, no matter what, I'm gonna send you a check for $500.
Thank you.
And I'm hoping that I can match that with this fabulous next board meeting that we have. We really, I'm a plank holder for the Rotary Action Group Against Slavery, it started in 2013. And I was shocked about how much we're discovering here in Virginia. But the uptick in numbers means that the reporting is also getting better, because I think this is one of the most underreported crimes happening right now in the United States.
Agreed.
I think it's horrifically worse than the numbers we see nationally.
Yeah.
So.
No, that's
I'm
amazing.
guys
Thank
for
you.
doing it that way as well.
Thank you.
It's amazing.
We will be also hosting on May 31st at Park Valley Church a screening of our documentary A Way Out, and doing just more of a community-based presentation that's going to be age appropriate for middle school and above. So if that is something that you all are interested in, just with some of the things and getting it out into the community, we'll be there.
Howdy. Thank
There
you
you
so much.
Yes, thank you.